Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding episode 113. Of course, I'm here with Dusty HANSHAW, myself, Big Ron PARTLOW. We are sans Scott McNally today. He is getting his furnace fixed, so he is listening in and being the amazing producer he can be, but he might jump in later. Do you know, Dusty? Is he doing that?
I think he's going to jump in and save us at the end after we've wrecked this shit, and we got to get the views back, you know?
Okay, well, so let's roll the intro here. Perfect. Put the intro right there, and there's the intro. Okay. I'll assume he finds that and fills it. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
There you go. So let's just get this out of the way. You got a new shirt?
It's not new. I just decided to wear it with pride today.
Oh, okay. You know? Yeah, I'm Canadian, and I've sort of actually really consciously stopped watching the news, to be honest. Looking back, I had a bit of a tough go in late 2020. I was really like watching a lot of news, and I think it was affecting me negatively. In early 2021 too, I was like, what's going on? And there was a lot of stuff that was pissing me off, and I sort of tuned out. But I am aware that Biden has like a 41% approval rating, and that's like really low.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. Yeah. It's been really actually it's been fantastic.
I mean, how low was Trump's approval? Trump's approval at its lowest was like 49, right? Like 49.
Yeah, it's worse. It was never even close to this. And you know, I guess the thing is, and I said this before in my Q&A, like I'm impressed because I thought it would take at least 2 years for people to realize he's a fucking moron, and they've done it much faster. So it's impressive. I'm proud of him. You know, everyone's good at something. Some people are good at sucking. That's it.
So I want to avoid politics myself, but one thing, are people, I'm also out of the loop on this. Are people realizing that Kamala is like an evil know-nothing?
Well, I think more than anything, what they're realizing is that she's
actually dangerous.
You know, like, because people are starting to realize, I can't, who was it?
Because she's dangerous. She doesn't know enough.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't know anything. She's dangerous.
No, it's impressive. Yeah. So, you know, like you said, we won't beat up politics. I'll just let my shirt speak for my opinions and call it a day.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of any of them.
Well, I'm not a fan of politicians in general. I think we could use less of them across the board.
My final word on this will be, my dad used to have a saying. He'd say, what are the 9 scariest words in the English language? I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
I'm here to help. Yep. These are facts. These are facts.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what made this such a great political line, is because he actually said that. The government's here to help you. And I remember when that happened, so many people's brain remembered
that old joke.
I've heard that saying before. So, but anywho, what's going on in your world, man? I mean, I'm seeing you struggling to avoid rain to ride the bike. You're doing indoor work.
Yeah. So I kind of found a spot. I haven't been kicked out yet. I've had 3 sessions in it. There's a new rec center right by my house, like blocks away. It's like multi-million-dollar, you know, they got hockey rinks in there, and they put like a massive gym in there with like, you know, they just order the entire Life Fitness catalog and drop it on the floor, you know, like it's a pretty amazing facility. And I can't hear you now.
I'm muted because I'm trying to figure out what the fuck Harvey's doing.
Oh, yeah.
When my dog starts making a bunch of sounds, what do you got? Come here. What do you got? Oh, it's fine. It's just a syringe casing. No big deal.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Bodybuilder joke. Normies don't get them. So there's a beautiful underground parkade. There's this one corner, it's kind of good, the farthest corner. And this is such a huge parkade. Yeah, there'd have to be like a huge event for them to fill that parkade. You know, I drive in there and there's literally 20% of the parkade on the other side has cars. And then there's like 80% of it completely empty. And I'm in the far corner at the back. So I'm just hoping nobody complains about me. I did see some security cars drive through, but they didn't come around to my corner, and I just kind of hid behind a post. And they just kind of did like a little lap over where the cars were and then left. But
Yeah,
I don't
they
know how
stopped where
often
the
he's gonna
cars
come
weren't.
by.
It didn't make much sense to go further.
Yeah, I was the only
That makes
person parked
sense.
all the way over there. It's kind of funny.
How much
I feel like
space do you need
so
to do that?
not a lot. I mean, it's nice to have like, you know, when I ride at the lacrosse box, it's nice to have the full, you know, because then I can do some straight line stuff. Like I'm practicing like my, you know, like peg wheelies and stuff. And you want to be able to do them in a straight line and in circles, you know?
Really?
So it's nice to
Okay.
have, it's nice to have a straight line so you can practice like distance. And then also,
Right.
you know, but if you just have like a 30 by 30 space, you know, like a big 2-car garage, like that's all some guys have, and they just fucking shred, you know.
That seems like it would be
I mean,
so
and then
difficult.
well, they say your environment, or your style reflects the environment you ride in. So, like some of the Japanese guys can literally ride in a phone booth because they ride in their condos. There's Japanese guys that have, yeah, they have like a 600 square foot condo, but their living room has two 4x8 sheets of plywood stuck together, so it's an 8x8 square, and they throw their bike on that in the middle of their living room, and they just fucking, and they
That's
just
wild.
like they're absolutely unfucking believable riders. But some of them, because like, you know, people like, imagine people in some cities, it's like space is so valuable, it's hard to find it, you know. And then you see guys like, you see guys that live in places like, you know, the Midwest where property's cheap, and they'll have an indoor spot that is like a warehouse. And I'll message them and go, how do you get that spot? And they're like, oh, me and a couple buddies rent it. We pay monthly rent to ride. It's like, you know, $600 for the month.
$400 a month. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like a shitty old warehouse, but it has a cement floor, and they're paying like, you know, they just pool their money and rent it to ride. Whereas like I live in Vancouver, and if you want a 1-car garage, it's like $2,000 a month.
Yeah, they're like,
So
you and your buddies could pool your money. It's $500 a piece. From the
more like
1,000
a piece. Yeah. So indoor spots are valuable. When you get into the little world that I'm in, you see people's indoor spots on Instagram, and some guys have put some money into them. Like they have like, you know, just like some guys have home gyms, right?
I was going to say that this literally reminds me of bodybuilding, because that's even what you said about the small space. Like,
hey,
it's funny.
So many parallels.
Yeah, when you think about like, what do you need? What do you really need to train? We really need a barbell and some weights and a couple benches, and you're good. Like you could do your whole body, but we get spoiled with extras, and then guys get away from it. You know, like it's wild.
Yeah,
so
it's the
same.
It's
funny.
it's
Every
like
time you tell me stuff, I see those parallels. Like you said, like I could see, like if I was into cycling and I was somewhere it was shitty, I'd be like, well, I need a space, so I'll get one.
Yeah. Like you see, I follow some guys, they're like young kids and they're amazing. And their standard spot is their basement, and it's like 12 by 20. And all their little Instagram videos are out of this like 12 by 20 cement basement. And you got to remember too, if you have a pad that's open, you actually have way more space because you can whip the bike out over the grass as you roll or whatever.
There's a wall.
But when you have walls then shrink your space. So some of these spaces, they might be the same size square feet, but they're different, you know? And, you know, and then you got a guy riding in his basement, and, you know, his dad's got the fucking tools all along the wall. So that makes the room even smaller. And, you know, like just all that bullshit. And then you're thinking, man, that's a hazard. If he falls in there, he fucking lands on a fucking, you know, whatever, shovel or something. But yeah, then you see them ride outside and you can see the difference. Like, you know, it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of like gyms, you know, it's nice to have all the nice leg equipment, but you know, if you're locked in your house, you just need a rack.
That's what COVID did for me, was made me realize, like, I used to, I traveled to like 5 different gyms to train different body parts. And now I'm like, you got a bar and a shit ton of weight? All right, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yep. Yep. What do you think about, we didn't talk about Rafael winning yet, did we? Because we did the live show last Wednesday.
It just happened. I think it's awesome. I also love seeing Samson qualify and go again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like seeing these guys that are like, I mean, that had to be his 4th show since the Olympia, 4th or 5th, where he's been in the top 3, and he finally snuck by Nathan, won. Raph took 2nd, and then they flip-flop like 2 weeks later,
Right.
Definitely great to see. So I'm loving seeing these guys lock it in. And, we didn't really spend a lot of time on this either. Like, I'm really excited to see what Milos can create based on seeing what's his head's win just barely as well.
Regan.
Who the hell was it?
Yeah.
Regan. Yeah, they have found something that Regan hasn't found yet. What do you see with that?
I don't know. It's I agree. Regan immediately looked like something happened to his physique, Hey, listen, Milos has taken a whole bunch of guys that have like good genetics and made them better. And
for sure,
there's also another thing. Like, sometimes people work with a coach for like a year or 2 and then they leave the coach, and then people think, oh, something must have gone wrong. But that's not always the case, right? And Milos is one of those guys, because I know a lot of guys that have worked with Milos, and when I say, hey, how was it? They say, oh man, it was fucking awesome. I put on like 10 pounds of stage weight, and I came in really good condition, and blah, blah, blah. But, people just don't always keep the coach or whatever, right? They want to do it themselves, right, or move on or save money or whatever. So, I know a lot of guys that worked with them, and they said, yeah, like it was, and I know it's a more complicated plan.
That would not be. I don't even have to look at it to know it wouldn't be for me. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's got to, that's where we've talked about your personality has to match the coach, right? And I don't know, maybe Regan does better if he's more engaged and has like more stuff he has to follow. Like, some guys actually do better like that,
Oh, for sure. If you're, what's the same as Hollingshead, he really loved the, I guess I call it emotional connection that he and Patrick have, and like that side. And I always love the fact that Chris and I communicated in like letters, not even words. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Like, I mean, I don't think we could fill 2 paragraphs with an entire prep's worth of emails, because there's no full sentences.
I remember one time I sent him, I was helping a kid who had like a really nice back double bicep, and it looked, at the time I wasn't using anyone to compare him to. I just thought it was a great photo, and I sent it to Chris, and Chris just replied, Claremonti 93. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's right. The kid kind of looks like Charles Claremonti. And then I like pulled up an old picture of Claremonti's back, and I was like, oh, yeah, he has the same shape back as Claremonti. Yeah, Chris is right. But me and Chris had this whole conversation about Charles Claremonti with one word. Like, you know what I mean?
The name and the year. That was the full conversation.
Name and the year. And it was like a full conversation, like a whole bunch of information was exchanged,
I can usually do that in person with my close friends when we both see something stupid in public. There's no words, but there's a full conversation about what a bunch of morons we're surrounded by.
Right. So what were the top 5? I'm just trying to pull the top 5 up again here.
I only knew the top 2.
Well, I just had a top 5 post here the other day. I was just looking at it.
I know Instagram moves fast, sir.
Yes. Hey, here we are, right? And I can never remember what what page you're on. Like, were you on the Romania Muscle Fest page, or were you on Buys and Tries, or were you on RX Muscle? Like,
Plastic
you
Perfection.
You forget to save the post. You know, the Plastic Perfection is it when you. Okay, Plastic Perfection. Tell us more pages you follow. Follow this and more helpful pages with Dusty.
Exactly. For more information.
Yes.
Sorry, Mom.
Plastic Perfection. Yeah, well, the reason I wanted to mention the placings, if I can find the fucking show here. Yeah, okay. So Rafael, they got Samson, and then in third was a guy that a couple guys I'm not familiar with in third and fourth. Beiruz Tabani. This is right. We got to look, got to look at more pictures of this guy. And then in fourth,
I like when you read a name, you're like, who?
Yeah, and then in fourth was Amir Omeragic. So we got to, look that guy up too. I like to take the time to do this, even though we don't always do this. And then in fifth place is Quentin Beastwood from Toronto. And
he looked nuts.
What do you do with that waist, that V taper?
This is what I love about bodybuilding, though. So we just named two guys that, respectfully, I've never heard of that beat him, and I know how good he is. So it's like, it reminds you how big bodybuilding has gotten, that there are two guys good enough to beat him. And I mean, on that day, but still, and I don't know who they are. That's wild. Because Dorian was putting up pictures of him, and I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
How can you be that big and that aesthetic at the same time? I'd love to see him and Nathan stand next to each other. Just as a comparable look.
Yeah. Also, you can tell in some of the shots because he's standing next to certain guys, but it's hard to tell by himself. But he's like 6 feet tall as well, so he's like a huge guy. So he'd be a little taller than Nathan as well. But Quentin's like really big, for a pro. Like he's slightly over 6 feet, I bet, like probably exactly my height, and super wide. So like the frame is just infinite.
Right.
He has an infinite frame, Dusty.
He's never have to worry about getting too big for his frame.
Yeah, and then also too, you know how they say it's good to start, like they say, ideally you want your legs to be a little too big because then you can pound the shit out of cardio if you have to get in shape.
Right.
Like it doesn't hurt. So
yeah, you're not
he's kind of like that with
off.
Yeah, he's kind of like that with his waist. His waist is so small that he could like blow it out with, like massive amounts of gear and, 900-pound deadlifts, and it would still be probably like 30.
Yeah. If he added 4 inches to it, it would still be small.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. That's the thing about that waist, that it's like unwreckable. Like,
right. It's valid too.
Yeah. Okay. What else you got, Dusty?
I got a lot of questions, man. I put up a question box last night, so we got work to do, sir. I haven't actually flipped through them. I just opened up.
Okay. I have no problem with that.
All right, perfect. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to talk about whatever the fuck you want.
Love it. Well, then we're going to start
except for politics
with this question. I don't know if this is political or not. How common is backdoor action at your house?
I live in a condo.
Technically, you do have a door. I've seen it. It's just you could fall out of a 26th, 7th floor.
Yeah, 24th floor.
Yeah, I knew it was one of those. God. Yes, I thought that was an interesting question. My answer will be, there are no rules at my house. It's just a good time.
There you go. There might be a couple rules if I really had to think. Probably a few things. There might be a couple things. There might be a couple things.
I'd have to go to like a really dark place to come up with something. But
I'm wondering, I'd
have to try and be like, what about this? Like, where would we even find a dragon? Okay.
Yeah, right. You know, it gets a little. Well, they do make those dragon dildos.
See, there's no rules.
Have you seen those dildos
rules.
that look like they're like anime dildos? Like, there's some people that are into like dildos that don't look like they have like an alien look to them. Have you seen those? Have I said too much?
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And they don't all look like some of them have like, you know, like, I don't know. It's not quite, you know, the way you'd think you'd want to shape.
I
don't have a vagina. Yeah. Like you just like, you know, but, hey, I'm not no judging, you know. You can use, hey, look at this shaker
cup. Do your
cup.
thing, girl. Do your thing.
Someone might want the shaker cup. I don't know.
Is that the leader one? That's fantastic.
I'm not going to judge. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm not going to judge. But yes, I guess I better clarify my thought. There are dildos that look like, I don't know if it's an anime fetish, because you know those like anime, I don't know fuck all about anime and all that stuff, but there's like that anime. Yeah, but you know what I mean, right? There's like an anime category. Yeah. So I think there's people that are into like, you know, I don't know, Dragon Ball penises or whatever the fuck they're into, you know.
Wait, they even have like anime porn. And I'm like, so it's cartoon porn?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, or they're dressed in anime costumes and I don't know what they're doing. Anyways, I don't think it deserves much more of our time, but just letting people know, you know.
We have derailed it because Scott is gone, and here we are. Scott.
Yeah, this is what happens.
It's a real fucking problem. Scott would have kiboshed so quickly.
How many minutes in are we? And we've been talking about
was the
like
first question?
Dildos.
And as you know, I have like lots of them, and you know that's what I went with right out the gate. And
anyway,
this is
in the comments, please. So here's the deal: if you were already aware of the whatever alien anime / cartoon dildo thing, if you were already aware of that, leave a little comment. Let me know I'm not the only one that knew that existed. Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen one. I've never like held one. Like never been like.
But you know they exist
just on video. Oh, I know they exist. Yeah,
I get it. I gotcha.
Okay. All right. What's the next question?
We'll go. We're going to clean it up.
And again, I guess the whole point. What's not allowed in the house? I do not have those in my house. Just so everyone knows. I don't mind if people think I'm weird, but just so you know,
we don't even know if it's not allowed. You've just never asked.
Yeah. Hey, maybe.
You know,
maybe I just got myself in trouble. Maybe Emily's going to see this and she's going to be like, you know what? We should get one of those. Okay.
Funny, I already ordered one. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Earliest dream you had as a child that you remember today?
Earliest dream that you had as a child? So, well, I don't know. That's a fun question, I guess. So I don't know if obviously this is a correct answer, but I have a dream from when I was like a little kid that kept reoccurring. And it was like vivid. And then as I got older and I read about lucid dreams where you can kind of control what you're doing and it feels like you're kind of making conscious decisions in the dream, I realized that was a lucid dream that I was having. And I had that for like over a decade, and it would just come once in a while. Like every couple of years I would have this lucid dream, and it was always the same, not identical, but it was the same dream. And it was where I was flying around. So I had the ability to fly, and I was aware that I was flying, and I was like making conscious decisions of where I was going to go. And, you know, I was just like going around and, you know, seeing people and flying over top of my friends' houses. And it was sort of like a reality based dream, you know,
right?
It was like real people, real houses, me going around but I was able to fly. And so I just remember having that dream like multiple times, and it was very lucid because every time I'd have it, I'd like wake up. And I remember also too, a few times I woke up and I was like, shit, I want to go back to sleep so I can get back in that dream. And actually, like, I know at least once I did that where I went back to sleep and I went back into the dream because I remember talking about it afterwards. So I don't know what triggers that. And then I haven't had it for, I don't remember the last time I had it, but I remember having it like really young.
Did the dream, like, did you get further along in the like story of the dream sometimes? Or did it always end?
Yeah, I don't really recall. I don't really, I don't really recall much about that. I remember like sometimes, like I said, it was reality based. Like I'd be flying over my friends' houses and stuff, but that doesn't mean it was like totally like reality. There was still like mountains and like, so I remember like going for like a flyby to see like how, I remember just like being aware. Yeah. I don't know if you ever had a dream like that, but they're pretty crazy. And yeah. What, you don't have anything like that?
No, I mean, it's funny, like, because I actually read that question because it popped in early, and I was like, man, because I'm that person that, like, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, God, that was a crazy dream, and then the next morning you're like, man, I had a crazy dream, and I couldn't tell you the smallest little thing about it.
Right.
The only dream that I have that I can remember off the top of my head currently was drug induced when I was in my coma. So, that's stuck in my head. But yeah, but that's so. I mean, not from childhood, but that literally is the only dream I can remember in my life. Like I just always wake up and don't remember, or I will, and I'll even tell somebody and then forget again. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. Do you have any? Because I got a million. So you want me to just keep rolling?
Yeah, you fire. I do have some, but you can fire off a few. I didn't do a box.
Well, here's
but
a good one.
Some.
Does Jesus or Jesus, I'm not sure which one it is, train for strength or hypertrophy? I can never say that word right. But anyways.
Hypertrophy?
I would say hypertrophy. It's like a trophy that's hyper. Anyways.
I would say that Jesus would. I would say that Jesus would be more about strength.
Well, he's not a big image from what I've seen.
Well, no, plus he would, even if he had muscles, he would probably want to cover them up. I don't see him being a tank top guy.
True. But although the main picture I've seen him, he doesn't have a shirt on. But anyways, yeah, it's a valid.
That's when he was on stage.
God, we're going now. But yes, I'm going to agree with you because I think you need power to part seas and things for sure.
Yes.
And you got to be graceful to walk on water. Okay. It's a good question.
Yes. Excellent question.
Oh, this is interesting. Someone who's trying to lean up. How much fat intake is too much? I'm 18% body fat currently.
I don't know.
This is a good one because of what we talked about last week with your opinion on fats and
yeah. So I had a few people ask me about that, and I guess what I want to clarify when I said I wasn't really a big believer in adding fats, what I meant was like I see diets where people are eating like tilapia and egg whites, and then they're adding fat, like I'll have an avocado with this meal and nut butter with this meal. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to eat a fucking steak. Like, I'm just going to eat a steak because I fucking hate tilapia. I never ate it once. And I dieted on steak. Like, I had steak in my diet for like the entire time I was a bodybuilder. Right. But it's just like I'd rather throw a whole egg in with my egg whites instead of having like a little tiny like teaser of nut butter. But some people love their nut butter. Nut butter still has a place. Like I still throw it in shakes and stuff if I'm doing like a protein fat meal before bed, and I still, it still satiates you really well and helps you sleep. And sometimes if guys are on contest prep, I'll put some fat in their shake at the end of the day or whatever, but I'm not against fats. I think people make like weird calls like that where they pull food out because it has fat in it and then they add other foods that are fat. It's like
you're boiling your chicken so that later in the day you can have 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
yeah and then okay, we can have the debate about healthy fats versus whatever fats versus essential fats, fine, but at the end of the day we're dealing with fats and carbs. And I like to keep things super simple. So I'd rather just eat steak or whatever. Did I sideline your question? I don't even remember what the guy asked.
No.
How many grams of fat is too much?
Yeah, I mean, that was the question. And it's an impossible answer, even with, knowing someone's 18% body fat, because it's like, well, how much is too much? Well, it depends on how many carbs you're having. It depends on how much you're moving.
Yeah.
you know, so the answer to the question for me is, like Ron, I like to have my carbs as high as possible because I actually like the substance of food, the amount of food I can put in my stomach when I'm dieting. So that makes, just like you, Ron, like, you know, my fats usually came from salmon or steak and eggs. And that was it during prep. Like,
Yeah.
just, you know, Chris never really used a bunch, but there would be at my size. I mean, in 2011, I was eating a pound of cooked salmon for my last meal every night.
Yeah.
Now,
how many grams of fat are
that's
in
a ton of fat. Oh,
because
God.
that, like,
I'm going to Google that real quick because it's got to be wacky.
454 grams
of fat in 1 pound.
Cooked salmon. Was it like 40? 50? There may be
62.
50 grams of fat. 62. There you go.
You know what's funny about that was, so Chris had that in my diet because that was the year I was super lean. And we get to Miami and he comes in to take a look at me. And I'm eating when we get done with hitting the shots, my food hits the table. And he looks over and he goes, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "It's my pound of salmon." He goes, "You eat that every night?" I'm like, "Well, it's written."
You told me to.
He's like, "Man, it's because it takes up an entire square plate and you have to cut it and put a piece on top of a piece. And then your greens are on the side." You know what I mean? So yeah, 62 grams of fat. That does answer the question. Wow.
I remember one year I was working with Chris. My last meal of the day was 8 ounces of steak. And I was using sirloin steak. Like, I wasn't being too picky.
Right.
I was eating sirloin. And I was in really good shape and my weight was like dropping. And he goes, "Okay, well, let's do 12 ounces of steak in that last meal, you know, just put a little extra in before bed." And then, you know, like, I lost a little bit more weight. And he's like, "Oh, well, you know, let's go 16 ounces on that steak meal tonight. Have a nice big fucking massive steak." And then, like, a couple of days later, he's like, "Bump that last meal. How many ounces?" And I'm like, "I'm at 16. He goes, "Go to 20. So I'm eating 20 ounces of salmon, or 20 ounces of sirloin steak, cooked sirloin steak.
That's a great night every night.
Before
You're
bed.
just waiting for that meal.
And I ate that meal. I ate 20 ounces of cooked sirloin steak with a little, like, blob of barbecue sauce. I ate that before bed for like the last 2 weeks before the show. And that was just the greatest. Right. I just sat in front of fucking the TV with this giant plate of chopped steak. It was awesome.
That's as good as it gets when you're in prep, people. That's as good as it fucking gets.
Yes.
End of story.
Yep.
Oops, don't need that one.
Okay. To answer his question, I sort of think that a gram of fat per kilo of body weight. So, like, if you're 265 pounds, you're 120 kilos. So that'd be 120 grams of fat. That's like standard, like, off-season fat intake. That's sort of how I think. You know, if you add it all up in your steak and shit, you know, you probably get that. I mean, if you're getting 60 grams in your fucking meal 6.
Yeah, you're in pretty good shape right there. All right, here's a solid one I actually like. Best life lesson you can share.
Oh, God. Mind your own business. How quick was that? Mind your own business. Don't expect anybody to save you. There you go.
Yeah, see, that's solid. I was gonna say, your life is your fault.
Great.
You know, I think that's an area that people mess up on, and I know that there's always pushback on these because someone's like, "Wow, you know, I lost my leg." Understood. Now what? Now you got to do something. You know what I mean? Like, the excuse that rolls on every little thing drives me crazy. I look at so many things that way, and it just makes it easy. Like, I prefer to accept that I have some form of control over everything than to just being a victim to life. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
nope. That's Gary V had a good one. I know it was just a business one, but he had one like a long time ago. It was like back in 2017, I think. I was probably watching Gary Vee on my phone, sitting at Mutant in my cubicle.
Right.
And I remember he had one where this guy stood up and he was like, "Hey, I have an idea for an app," and I'm just paraphrasing because I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like, "I have an idea for an app, and it delivers, I think he said cannabis. He's like, it delivers this, blah 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 blah. But the state I live in doesn't have this law passed yet, and it just got deferred for another year." And Gary Vee goes,
"Move.
Well, fucking move to Denver."
Right.
And the guy just looks at him. He goes, "But I live in, whatever, Wisconsin." And he's like,
right.
"I don't give a shit. You can't change the rules of the game. You can only win the game. You have to play the game. The game is move to fucking Denver or shut up."
Right.
And the guy was like, "Oh." And he's like, "Or another state that has those laws. There's a few, but quit whining to me." And that's sort of like, yeah. Like at the end of the day, some of these rules, you just got to play by them. So just fucking figure them out. Get around them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? No one's going to save you. Like, that guy could sit in that other state. I bet that guy fucking moved too. He was like 10 feet in front of Gary Vee. He's one of those guys that went to like a Gary Vee thing because he's like, fuck, I want to meet Gary, I bet that guy fucking moved. But yeah, just stuff like that. It is
funny. You find like, it's trite, but it's true. Like, you find people that can find a problem for every solution. I have this great thing. We'll do this. Well, I can't. Well, then fuck off. It's not that complicated to me. It's really not. So
another thing.
Oh, go ahead.
A finishing touch on that advice thing that has always served me well is some people, like let's say they're going to go do a thing, like, well, let's just use the gym. Let's say they're going to go train legs, and they're warming up on the leg press, and their hip hurts, and they're like, "Fuck, like I can't fucking leg press." So they try to hack squat, and their hip hurts. And they're like, "Oh, fuck, I guess I can't train legs today." And I'm like, "Well, no, you still haven't tried leg curls. You still haven't tried adductors. You still haven't tried extensions. Find something that you can do and do it. Like, don't waste the whole day. Find something you can do and do it. Or train calves for an hour, or fucking do calves and abs. Like, you know what I mean? You have to make the best of things when they go wrong. Being able to make the best of a less than ideal situation is a skill, and it really can make a difference in the amount of happiness in your life. People that are too easily sidelined by inconvenience or what they perceive as a disaster is often just like, "Okay, what else can you do with this time? Like, you're here right now. Like, what are you going to do? You waste all of this, or are you going to do something with it?"
Right.
And that's just how I think that sort of mentality can really help you out.
Well, it's funny because, I put up a post today, and I've been trying to keep my posts a little more just shorter and to the point. Sometimes I think you can ramble on and lose people, or it just doesn't, whatever, nobody gives a fuck, whatever it may be. But I had that thought because I've had a lot of people when I came back after getting sick now that have asked, like, did this take longer? Was this faster than you thought it would be? Or, anything like that. And I'm like, I never thought about it. Like, I just started working. Like, I never even thought to myself when I came out, like, maybe I'm not ever going to feel this right side of my body again. I didn't know, but I didn't even bother to think about if that was possible, or could I be as good as I was or as strong as it just started running, so to speak. And I knew that I would work as far as I could, whatever that meant. And that's it, so it is interesting because I think a lot of times what it is people want to know, it's the same as asking you, "Hey, Ron, will you take a look at my pictures and tell me if I have a shot in the sport?"
Yeah, I know.
Like, well, are you going to not do it at all if I say no? You're just going to quit?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's always an odd thing to me because I'm like, Here, let me show you my first pictures. Nobody said to me, Dusty, you got to do a bodybuilding show. You were born for this. Like,
yeah, no, I know.
It's like, oh, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this. No idea where it's going to go. So, no, I agree with you 100%. Oh,
hey,
we must have
there you go. We must have really been shit in the bed.
Oh, guys, I didn't want to say anything, but that last question.
Just dying.
Was it the first question about how common backdoor actions at the house?
Dusty, you lined your beard up. Was that in relation to last week's question? It's looking very Arizona right now. Very Scottsdale.
I actually cleaned it up myself because I'm going a month with no shaving. Right, as far like I've just decided like actually let it grow, but I can. Oh, so a guy that has no hair on the top of his head, but I could cover my eyes in hair vertically off of my cheeks. It's scary. So yes, I cleaned it up a little bit because I said, you know what, I got to look good for Scott, and then he fucking bounced out on me. Wasn't even here. He got his furnace fixed. I don't even know what a furnace is coming from Arizona. I'm like, what? What are you talking about,
dude? The guy who fixed my furnace was a. I didn't say anything when I first saw him, but he was pretty jacked. Okay. And I was like, oh, this guy lifts.
5 minute crew.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, he's a little bit older. He's in his 50s now. But, and then I knew when we walked downstairs, I was like, he's going to like the gym. Watch this. And then he was like, oh man, that's badass. You know? So we were talking about weightlifting and, he had,
did you exchange numbers?
No, we didn't. But he has a bunch of equipment from Weightman, which I bet you've never heard of that company, Ron. It's a Michigan-based company, WATE, Weightman, and they're out of business now. But they fabricated all sorts of stuff, like through the 80s, like old school home gym, like hardcore home gym equipment that you would really appreciate. And he has a bunch of that stuff. So we were talking shop, and it turned out it was he didn't even need to come here. He looks at the furnace, and the minute he got here, it turned on. Look, I've been messing with this thing all morning, so
he's got a presence about him.
Yeah, he was like the furnace whisperer, I guess. But
well, there you go.
I always hate that. Like I need it when I can't get something to work. It's like if you say I can't find something anywhere, and your girlfriend comes in and she goes, "It's right here." You're like,
yeah.
I need it to be a little longer than that so I don't look like an idiot. You know? Like if I catch it out of the corner of my eyes, I know she's going to see it. I fucking hide it in my pocket for a minute. And then I find it later.
Yes.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to take a brief moment to shout out our sponsors. I'll make it quick, but this stuff's super important because it's our sponsors that help to make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. And if it wasn't for you shopping with our sponsors, we wouldn't be here either. You can support our programming by shopping with TrueNutrition.com. They're our title sponsor. They've supported us for a number of years. They have awesome health and performance supplements. You can ask Skip or Dusty or Scott Stevenson all about True Nutrition, and they'll tell you how good of a company they are. Hardcore bodybuilders have trusted them for over 15 years now. Use our code THINK. You'll get some savings. You'll support our programming. If you're in Canada, you can shop with supplementsource.ca. They have highly discounted supplements, discounts on bulk orders, and free shipping over $99. Check them out. And finally, you can directly support our programming on Patreon. I'll have links below for Patreon and everything else. We're taking more questions over there, and I appreciate everybody who's already helping to directly support our programming through our Patreon. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me. Let's get back to the show.
All right, so we're going to get back to these questions here. Now that Scott's here, I'm going to clean them up a little bit. All right. Do you think that giant sets work for muscle growth? Milos trains his athletes that way. In case you guys didn't know.
Right. Well, I mean, everything works and nothing works. It depends on, like, are you recovering from the stimulus? Are you triggering an adaptation? Like, I definitely don't think it's the one and only greatest way to train, but I can see how it would be, you know, how there could be some grounds in that sort of training to achieve overload. I mean, there's lots of different ways to achieve overload. I mean, I've done some giant sets. I mean, you know, I remember when my knee was bothering me before I tore my quad. I had like a 7-year period where I would once in a while, my knee would be bothering me. and I would go in and set up 4 quad exercises and just do rotations. And of course you can hardly use any weight. You're doing like 2-plate hacks and fucking, you know, but my quads would just be like ballooned. And, you know, I'm not saying I did that training enough to like say whether or not you can grow from it, but it certainly fucking helped me, you know, get through those years, you know? So I don't know. It's not magic, but it's also too, like maybe some guys don't train that hard and then Milos gets a hold of them and giant sets of shit out of them and their body responds, you know? But maybe you take a guy like Dusty, who's already, you know, found the fucking 8,000 RPM mark on the race car a million times. And it's just kind of a different type of training for him. It's not really a big deal. Like he just obviously gets adjusted to it over time. And I don't know. That's my thing.
What about you, Scott?
Now that Ron said that, I would love to see Dusty get trained by Milos for like the next month and have it all videoed where like you only do giant sets and you don't have much time to rest. I'd just be curious. I mean, I imagine it, you know, you already figured out something that works really well for you, but it just would be a fun experiment to watch.
I feel like you're sentencing me to death because if you've ever seen me train, there's no like when the breathing is hard, I stop. I'm like, hold on, right. Get this down. We gotta. I'm gonna take a walk. I gotta slow this down a little. It's funny. I just trained last week with Jordan, and he was like, I hope I don't get sick. I had to eat my meal too close. I go, we don't get sick. There's plenty of time. Don't worry, man. We move heavy weight and then we sit down. Is there a chair nearby? And there actually was. So I sat down in a chair and
Dusty is he's the power lifter's bodybuilder.
Well, because I'm not made to be a bodybuilder at all. I was born to do that and just refused. I was like, nah.
I had to train legs. I had an interesting workout the other day. You know, I mean, the three of us, I think we lead rather routine lives, right? We train same time all the time. We have our way. Scott has his own gym, so everything's his way, you know. But I had a day the other day where I had to train legs, and it was a super long day, and I was really busy, and I couldn't train with my partner, so he went normal time, and I wound up getting to the gym to train legs. It was 8:55 p.m. when I started, and the gym closes at 10, right? Obviously, I can stay past closing.
I was like,
key, but I'm just saying, like that's how late it was. You know, like an hour before the gym closes, I'm starting legs, and I was tired. Like I had 3 meals a whole day, but I made sure I was pounding water because I knew I had legs, so I was hydrated at least. It was so late that I took a half a scoop of all in
because you wanted to take sleep.
A full scoop. Yeah, I just took like barely a half a scoop, and I was like, "Okay, I gotta go do legs." And I honestly was like, "Fuck, do I still have what it takes to dig out a leg workout by myself Friday night at 9 p.m. for no reason?"
Yeah,
I don't have to do this.
Yeah, there's no show. There's no
no reason. You know. In fact, I could probably find a reason not to do it. You know, like, it'd be good to take a week off. You know, I've been training with Braden for months. Probably good to skip a leg. Like I could have done that easily, but I just had like a little moment where I was like, no, I have like a commitment to myself. You know, if I don't do this leg workout, tomorrow's supposed to be my rest day. So I'm going to spend my whole rest day thinking, fuck, I should go do legs. And I'm, you know, too busy tomorrow to do legs. So then I'm, you know, fucks up my split. And then the next day I'm supposed to do shoulders with Braden. So then, you know, like, you know what I mean? That cascade of like, I can't fucking let this slide, you know? And, so I went in the gym and I did legs, and I wound up kind of, because I didn't have a spotter on anything. So I could only go to like, you know, the like verge of failure where you put your hands on your knees, you know, for the leg press and stuff. And, so I did like a volume workout. I pounded like 20 sets of legs in an hour.
Nice.
And, probably took 1 minute rests on a lot of stuff, maybe a minute and a half. And I just pounded out sets of 15 and then just kept adding weight. And then I'd wind up getting a couple of fail sets. And then I'd go to the next exercise and do 15, put a plate on 15, put a plate on 15, put a plate on. Oh, I only got 12. Okay, I'll use that weight again. Oh, I only got 8. Okay, there's my 2 work sets. Move on to the next exercise. You know what I mean? I just did like this brainless thoughtless, generic volume fucking workout. And fucking felt like $1 million afterwards because I, got that fucking leg day in. And then I was crippled, and I'm still crippled.
Of course you were. Yeah, it's the shock.
Yeah.
That's always the case, though. I tell guys that anytime you go somewhere new to train, even if you do your workout, if the hack is different, the leg press is different, the adductor is different, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be fucked.
But it was good because it was like, every once in a while, I find myself, I mean, we all do it, but the current context of how it happens to me is the fact that I don't have to do this anymore. And that like occurs to me sometimes. I'm like, I don't have to go do this, but I just really, had a commitment to myself. I want to remain, and it's not just cosmetic, like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. No, it's not that. It's like, I want to remain strong. I want to keep like a base level of, functional ability to train hard. I don't want to start skipping leg days, so all that stuff. Yeah. Pretty interesting. It was one of those little things where you're like, fuck it. Okay.
How long did you say that whole workout took?
1 hour.
So you were done when the gym closed. You were set.
Yeah.
Before the gym closed.
Yeah, it was done. Yeah.
That can be a nice challenge.
Closed, yeah.
That can be a nice challenge to do that kind of thing sometimes, I think, to force yourself to move faster or, I think my answer is the giant sets. I haven't been a big giant set person personally, but I do think that something other than what you are doing is worth investigating, because, like I've had a couple guys that have been doing a higher frequency push-pull legs type thing. And we're at a point where it's like, you've been doing this for a year. We've changed things within the workout. It's not like he's been doing the exact same thing for a year, but we thought, okay, well, you're off cycle now. Or one guy, it's like he finished his contest. It's 4 weeks post show. We're going to give it another 4 weeks to keep, cleaning out before we start pushing. Why don't we're going to go to a bro split just for like the next month and go to like a higher volume program. He's been doing like the top set, back off set thing. And I'll tell you what, he's going to do twice as many exercises each time he trains each body part because he's only doing it once a week. And he's going to be smoked. Like this dude is going to be fried for the first couple weeks. And then when we go back to higher frequency, I think he'll have a better response to that, having had a little bit of time off. Almost like it's not a volume, it's not a deload, but it's like a deload from frequency, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do have one thing to say about giant sets is that there's one thing I really dislike about them. And it's that most people hate when you take up 4 fucking machines.
Oh, yeah.
And most gym owners, like me, find it really annoying because I have people coming out to me going, those 2 guys are using 2 leg presses, a squat rack, and an extension. And I have to explain to them how that's like, what am I supposed to say? Oh, yeah, that's a totally fair and reasonable way to train at 5 o'clock on a Monday. No, it's not. So there's that element. I've told people, I'm like, listen, man, you can't giant set Monday night at 6:30.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
I can't believe I have to tell you this. It's funny. There's a guy, I was filming the other day on Sunday, just arm workout. But there's a guy at the gym here that does that. He occupies like 5 pieces. And of course, I don't want, like, when I first came here, like, be a dick and just start taking equipment. But once I realized what he did, I was like, oh, okay. So rather than even asking, because he'll be across the gym, I need to use the cables. So I just bring them down, use them. And if he walks up while I'm still using them, I just finish my set. And I'm like, do you want to continue working in with me, or are you done here? Those are your options. Like, and literally he was
I'll
like,
put the pulley up.
I'm good. I'm done. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks. Like, and it doesn't matter to me either way, but I'm like, you can't occupy 5 fucking pieces while we all stand here. Because what was funny is we finished that. Then I went over to another piece that he was using, needed that. So started using that as well. By the time I finished anything he wanted, I looked at my video guy, I go, see, he's still going. So had I not, we would have had this 30 minutes just stand here or do something else. You know, so it's fun. And in his defense, while, you know, bring it up, he doesn't mind because he knows. He gets it.
Yeah.
Like he's not, you know, he's not a dick in reverse either. He's like, oh, okay. You know, he knows, like, it's fucking packed gym, and it's a smaller gym that only has like one hammer strength preacher curl, or, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't make sense. So it's nice when you have the ones that actually get it, at least, because, you know, I tried to learn in reverse. Like, first I'll ask, and then once you see it, you're like, yeah, this is mine now. You can work with me, but it's mine.
Another thing too, and it's obviously, you know, I mean, I like to keep things super simple, so a lot of people probably won't agree with me. And obviously there's certain situations where the exercises are completely different. But a lot of supersets, you could just turn them into drop sets on one machine. You don't have to superset two things all the time. Like, you'll see people supersetting like incline dumbbell press, supersetted with hammer strength press. I'm like, you could just use a hammer machine and just do a strip set, because you're doing two. Like, come on.
It's basically the same.
We're not. Yeah, because it's like I said, because it's 6 o'clock on a Monday, so you're taking up two benches right now. So let's just have a think about this. I'm not anti superset. I do them sometimes, but, you know, be aware.
Do you guys remember there was that part of raising the bar? Dave Pulcinella's video with his brother Mike Pulcinella shot it, and there was this kid who had like 3 benches because he was doing like some sort of like dip thing, and he needed like all this shit, and Dave needed a bench, and he's so animated. I just remember his line. He was like, "It takes all of this to be you right now."
It takes all of this to create your physique.
I loved that. And he was like a little guy, you know, he was a little guy.
Yeah. It takes
That's
all of this.
That's freaking amazing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like those. Those were funny.
It's funny though. Like, I mean, all kidding aside, like that stuff. So actually, I may have even sent it to you, Ron. I'm not sure. But one day I'm in the gym and I look over, and these 2 ladies have not only moved 2 of the incline benches away from the dumbbells, but moved dumbbells down with them so they could do dumbbell presses at the same time. So they would talk in between sets while sitting on the benches, then get done with their conversation, kick up their dumbbells, do a set, put them down, remain talking. Then they get done with like press, and it's like, oh, we need to do flies. So they leave the dumbbells there, go get lighter dumbbells, bring them back, and I'm like, how does someone have to point this out to you?
Yeah.
Like,
they're training
this
partners.
Is a busy gym, and like everything you're doing is wrong on every level. I'm like, you really don't need each other than the conversation. But okay.
Yeah. Be funny if, like,
I took a picture.
Imagine if you and me, Dusty, if we walked into like a gym and we both took hack squats beside each other.
Yeah.
And just like,
and then we're at the same time.
Although that might make sense now though, because I use half the plates you do.
But it's funny because my point is, I never see someone that knows their shit doing just disrespectful shit like that. Same thing, like, you very rarely will see somebody who's hack squatting 10 plates aside leave them on.
Yeah.
They take every single one off because they know the rules. You know?
Yeah.
It's always like the person who used a quarter and then they just leave it. I'm like, must have been exhausted, couldn't remove that. Anyways.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Okay.
Let's see here. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, wait, I had a good one that I want. Oh, this is important because it blows my mind. Adding a sugary junk snack with every meal, i.e. 2 Reese's cups in the off season to help put on size. That's per meal.
I love that.
So I'm thinking 6 or 7.
I want that diet.
Packages.
It
sounds
every day.
Delicious.
Yeah.
So you just stay on a base contest diet, like 1 cup of rice per meal type of a thing, like a starting base contest, generic sort of contest diet.
Yeah.
But then you just regulate your weight gain with Reese's peanut butter cups. So the only variable is the amount of peanut butter cups that you intake per day. And then you come right down to 0 cups, and that's when your contest diet starts. or do you
No,
start?
that's when you're ready to step on stage. You're ready to step on stage when you pull out that last. You
got to set it up. You got to set it up so like 4 peanut butter cups a day is default, like calorie, like sort of.
But how would you fill up backstage without a peanut butter cup?
Well, that's the thing. They become the main variable that you have to put back in.
Because you would need that back in at the end.
Yeah.
I like
so
it.
what I would recommend would be an undulating peanut butter cup stagger going into the show. So I would go down to 0 peanut butter cups, and then I would go 4, 1, 6, 2, 8, 4, and then step on stage the next day. You know, you don't want to put them all in too close together.
Yeah, that's smart.
You know, less water retention. Yeah. Just kind of like slowly carb up with peanut butter cups. Like take a while.
You realize if you could get somebody shredded on that plan, you would be the most popular coach.
I just did.
Yeah,
I just did.
Were you not just? I just saw it happen. Where have you been, Scott?
There's going to be somebody who next week they're going into their show. They're 1 week out. They're not going to add carbs back in. They're just going to add peanut butter cups, and they're just going to like load with them. So hit. See how full they get.
I like that.
But I mean, I had to ask the question though, because I think although we're laughing, it does amaze me that the confusion on just adding shit and trying to tweak it into being about bodybuilding. It's kind of like, Ron, what we talked about with weed. Like, listen, if you want to smoke weed, but don't try to pretend that you are somehow smoking weed to be a better bodybuilder. If you want to eat 2 Reese's cups per meal in the off season, fuck it.
I have my weed alarms at 10 minutes before every meal.
But it's the same thing. Like, I think it's important that people just factor in and say, I do this because I want to.
So I did an off-season diet for a guy the other day, and he's a young kid, just wanted help, and he's got a good metabolism. He's a young guy, trains hard, and I put a muffin in his post-workout meal every day, right? I mean, he's like 22 years old. So, and he's like, I can eat a muffin every day, and I'm like, dude, like you're a 22-year-old kid, like who fucking squats 4 plates. Yeah. Jesus. Like what are you reading? What Instagram posts or melted your brain? Like, like it's not, I didn't add a bag of McDonald's every fucking day, but
like 1 muffin.
Like some people are just so like some people, my point is some people see like contest diet. They think that's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like
I was that way at one point.
Chicken rice. Oh my God, I'm going to have a muffin today. It's like, that wasn't off season. I just ate whatever the fuck I wanted every single day in off season, but I mainly had good meals all the time,
I saw Jay Cutler, I watched Jay's videos and I saw like he was eating tilapia or cod or whatever, orange roughy and rice. And I was like, yeah, that's what you do, and then I'll eat some sweet potato and a very lean beef, keep it real tight. And like, man, I don't know why I'm not making the progress because I'm eating like 9 times a day and it's a lot of food, and then I realized, let's throw a little junk in here too,
Yeah. Then you also know Jay went to In-N-Out and got the triple doubles.
It was before, they didn't show that at first. They didn't show that.
They used to never show that shit. And that was confusing because I remember 1 year with Chris when we were like pushing for size and my metabolism jumped in. I got to the point where I was pretty full. And he was like, what else could you eat at night? And I was like, I mean, I can eat peanut butter and jelly anytime. And he was like, all right, let's do 2 of those with a shake before bed.
Yeah.
We did that for 4 or 5 months. I would do 2 peanut butter jellies. Nope. And for those wondering, we didn't measure. A lot of peanut butter,
it wasn't the
and
sprouted grain bread for $8 a loaf either.
Yeah, it was like, and that was it. So I'd have 2 of those and a shake every night, and I was like, it was in heaven. Number one, because it was awesome, and I could get it down. Like it didn't matter. I could be done for the day, but it's like, well, anybody can eat 2 peanut butter and jellies real quick. And I swear, like I'll never forget. And Matt can even tell you because he left for like a month, and he comes in one day, and I'm walking in from the parking lot, and he goes, the fuck have you been eating? And I'm like, peanut butter and jelly, bro. Like, that's the difference.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah,
it
you
is
got to
kind
have a
of
plan. You got to have a plan, and you want to eat, pretty clean, because that your body will digest the meals. You'll be able to get your meals in. There's all these logistical reasons why, chicken and rice and steak and potatoes are kind of what we mainly eat, or whatever foods you happen to like. But yeah, to get huge, like, how many pizzas did Ronnie Coleman eat, you think? Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh God. I mean, something has to put you over that edge. And I think that that's the thing. I know we've talked about this before. Dante used to tell me, if you can't eat, you can always eat chicken wings. And that was my thing. Like, so I would buy chicken wings and watch a sporting event and they'd be gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, I can knock down 24 chicken wings without thinking if I'm watching sports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's easy.
No big deal. So, here's an interesting one, which I haven't heard about in a long time. Have you ever used DNP, and what do you think about it, even if you haven't?
I've never used it, and it's an industrial pesticide, so I don't really want to put it in my body. I think people who use it now should know better, and they're being extremely risky, and you can die from it. And yeah, but I know there's fucking entire forums out there of guys that are super into it.
Oh yeah.
And they think that all the pros use it. It's, it's funny. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Scott?
So I agree with you. Super dangerous. Definitely an industrial pesticide. Really bad for you. And I've used it twice.
And what was but so that's good. So what was your experience for it? Like, how was it on? Like, was your energy just fucking zapped? How was your training?
Yeah. So the first time
you can't train on it.
No, the training was terrible. And the first time I used it, I was working for I guess you guys call it soda company. We call it the pop company. I worked for the pop company,
right.
And I'm moving heavy shit. And it was the middle of summertime. I was getting ready for a contest. And I want to say it was like 6 weeks out or so. And I think I ran it for like 2 weeks. And it was like 500 milligrams, which is a decent dose. So it's that's what I would consider to be that would be like a meaty dose. You know what I mean? You're not going in light. You're not going in crazy 500. And it was like the powdered version. I didn't really get that much out of it, honestly. I was very flat. My energy was absolutely zapped. My strength was shit. And I feel like, man, if you can take somebody that's not feeling good on a prep and then if you could make a change to give them energy, and now they've got pep in their step, that in itself, I think, is going to help you with fat loss. So I feel like it was almost a counter, negative thing for me because I was so low on energy. Now, the second time I used it, this was 2013. This was 2017. I used it for 5 days. Ron, do you remember S2H? He was on the PED podcast with Skip over at Project Bodybuilding.
So is that Scotty Too Hottie or whatever?
Yes. Yeah. So this is a plan he gave me, and I used 200 milligrams, and it was of the crystal version, which is supposed to be better. And I used it for only 5 days. And he had me switch up my entire diet. We moved all the carbs to fruit, and he had me taking a bunch of supplements with it. And more or less, the second time I did it, I wanted to just experiment. It was a popular topic, and I wanted to see for myself. And I ended up losing a lot of scale weight in the process. But here's the problem that I had. So I was making good progress, cooking along, losing fat. Everything was consistent. My diet was right on point. I knew that if we pull a half cup of rice, then I'm going to lose more, but we don't need to do that yet, kind of thing. Cardio, everything is dialed in. When I ran the DMP, I dropped a ton of weight, but then it took me 2 weeks to get back on track because now I'm at a new spot. And it's I didn't know, well, what do I need to get back onto that groove? I had to figure myself out again. So it actually, I don't think was really beneficial, to be truthful with you guys. I mean,
you changed everything, you know, which is something that it's funny. I preach that all the time to my clients. We'll change something, and they're like, "Oh, what about the drugs?" I'm like, "We'll leave them for a minute.
Yeah.
I want to see what this change does."
Yeah.
Then I see what that change does. Then I can look at something else. And not to say that I've never like increased cardio and decreased food at the same time, but definitely do my best to not like. I mean, you upended your diet that was already working,
Right.
because you had to, based on this plan, to add in the DMP. So it's not shocking that, well, now you're off the path. You're trying to get back to that same path again.
Yeah.
You know, my answer to the DMP was, it's always been a simple thing to me. And I don't mean this to sound hardcore. It's just, I found like right kind of when I was hitting my stride in bodybuilding and I don't want to say getting known, but good enough that it mattered what I thought. It seemed like that's when the 2011, 2012 time period, that it became the goal to find an easier way to be a bodybuilder. That became the thing. Like, well, DMP, you won't have to diet as hard. Well, you can't do hard cardio because you'll lose muscle. So you just take the magic powder and then you're going to get lean. And it's not that I want the hard way. It's that I always was somebody who hunted for the best way, not the easiest way. So that always seemed counterproductive, because to me, the answer is always simple. It's the same thing I look at with, like, say, orals. Somebody say, oh, well, you know, I know Anadrol is a great drug, but it fucks up my appetite. I'm like, well, that's not a good drug for you.
Yeah.
We need to eat.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I think that that's where I really put DMP into that category of, you can get peeled without it.
Yep.
And the amount of variables that you're fucking up to, truthfully, to hopefully, and this is the best part, to make it easier, but you're actually going to feel worse. So is it easier? Yeah. Sounds harder. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I was never even tempted, because I did see guys do it, and I mean, they would turn into zombies immediately. Like, their training was shit. I mean, it looked difficult to walk in from the car, and I'm like, I always remember that bodybuilding was fun to me. Yeah. I'm like, this doesn't look like fun. Look at, you're dying.
I had a friend of mine who did it. I don't know what dose he took, but he said it was like, and this was back, I guess, like really early 2000s, mid 2000s. And like you said, it just kind of showed up. You know what I mean? People were talking about it in the forums and stuff. And he tried it for a show, and he wound up in the bathtub with like bags of ice all around him. Yeah. Trying to get his body temperature down, and like really scared. He wound up calling the paramedics and going to the hospital, and wasn't a good thing. And he was just taking like this dose. I don't know what dose it was, but it wasn't crazy. It was like one of the doses that everyone was recommending, and he just wound up like fucked up. So he said it was like the worst 3 days of his life before that. Wow. Like, he was like, he went to the gym, couldn't do anything, like couldn't even do warm-up weights, and was like, I got to get off this shit, you know, and then thought, okay, I'll just do like however many days, he's going to cut it in half or something. And then like the next day wound up in a fucking bathtub full of ice, you know, overheating, you know, going to die of a fever, you know, crazy.
That's fucked
so
up, man.
That can be really hard on your kidneys too, right? So
yeah. And Victoria says that it destroys your mitochondria. So there's that. I mean, I think it's bad on a lot of shit.
The engine of the cell.
Yeah.
Isn't the mitochondria like?
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, you'll be peeled.
And there are people out there. There are podcasts out there where people are like, "Oh no, DMP actually builds mitochondria and it's healthy." And same people who've like had people running it for 16 coaches that'll have people running it for 16 weeks straight. And I'm not talking like good coaches. I'm just talking about coaches.
That's crazy. So what do they put them on, like a small dose so they only feel a little terrible for the whole prep?
I think like the dose I heard was 500 for 16 weeks.
So you can just diet on McDonald's and hope you don't die.
Yeah, I don't know,
think that
man.
Victoria should start a book of just like, she's got her own acetoisms. like
so, you know,
things that I will never forget that she says, like I'll never forget when she did the podcast where she was like, I need y'all to stop referring to these issues females are having as side effects. These are not side effects of the drugs. They are the direct effect of the drugs.
Yeah, that's what they do.
And I heard that and I was like, this is the greatest line I've ever heard in my life, because we all want to use that word, myself included. It's like, well, you got to watch out for the sides. It's like, they're not sides.
No, that's the main effect.
Yeah, hair growth. That's what androgens do, you know?
Yeah, but it's just funny because she has I've listened to enough of her speaking, and I'm like, every now and then I'll hear when I'm like, acetoism. Like, because it's such a like stabbing point that even intelligent people who know better I've used that word before, side effects, talking to women about what drugs do, and then you're like, wow, it's terrible misinformation by me, actually. Like,
right.
Yeah, she's got some gems, man. I'd love to have her on, but I want it to be on a week when I'm not here so I don't look stupid.
Yeah, she really should come on our show, but I don't want to be on.
Yeah, I would have watched the episode, and you two will look foolish. But I will have just been out of town that day.
Well, hey, Dusty got to sit out a couple of episodes, so maybe I'll sit out the Victoria one. So more.
I'm sure she would love to come on. She's going to be here pretty soon, so maybe we could even set that up while she's here or something.
We're gonna have to take one for the team, guys, and get her on because
I would love to have. I think it would be fun to come up with some games to play with Victoria to kind of like joke around with her academic. What's her level of academia? Like extreme? What do you call it? I just called extreme.
Extreme. Yeah.
It's above high school where I was.
Yeah. So I think it would be funny if there was some contrast. Like you bring her on and then you make her play like childish word games about like steroid use. You would come up with something. You know?
She's good though. She's good because she understands the bro side of things. I remember somebody reached out to me and they were asking. Well, she understands me, you know, so there's that.
But we haven't even figured that out.
I remember somebody was asking me about setting up a podcast, and they were asking, and I was trying to figure out how to explain to the guy that I use this program to do this program to do this, and this program to do this, and they all work together. And she was like, so basically tell him that you're just stacking the three programs together.
Because he'll understand that.
Yeah, he'll understand that language. Like he's creating a stack.
Make perfect sense.
Yeah.
I have a technological stack that I use to produce the show.
And this is where we drop in the Anadrol, which is also known as.
Yes.
All right, so this is actually a good one. I'll be curious to see what you guys think. Just got sick 6 days out, and it's the flu. What now?
Fucking soldier on, motherfucker.
Yep.
I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to fucking hear it, man.
He might look his best.
Work. You know, too many stories about guys getting sick right before a show and then just staying in there.
How about 09 Cutler?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't fucking 09 Cutler was like barely could stand
vomiting
up the day before
wound up in a bathtub, guzzling a liter of Gatorade.
I didn't know that. Yep. Or I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I saw him at he had to come to the expo for something for a minute and literally could barely stand up.
Yeah.
So he didn't even complete the mission of what he was supposed to do. But
I think he got over dehydrated that year though. That was like a dehydration thing, wasn't it? Yeah. So yeah,
I don't know what the cause was, but I just remember he was wrecked.
Yeah, I think he just pulled too much water and had to like rehydrate a bit. But yeah, I know he was sick as fuck. And then, well, you know, hey, flu game. You got Michael Jordan with the flu game, right? That's the ultimate example, you know? So you just got to just show up. I mean, so obviously there's a few logistic things. So if you're sick, like you got a couple workouts left. I don't know. We're not supposed to go to the gym sick, but go when it's dead and stay away from everybody. And fucking, you know, hey, maybe this is even a good time for him to wear a mask. Just to get people to stay away from you, if anything. But yeah, I'd probably be super selfish about it and go fucking just not tell anybody and train anyways. And, you know, make sure you don't have COVID. That's one thing. Maybe go get a COVID test or something. But yeah, man, fuck, getting sick right before a show is the worst. But you just gotta just follow the plan. You know, if you keep the water intake high, your body can still look pretty good in any condition. Like, you know what I mean? If you just don't worry about it.
6 days out over 2 days out. I mean, there's a chance that you're going to feel halfway decent by stage time. I mean, is it a perfect storm? You know, is it great? No, but I mean, fuck, I'll definitely take 6 days out over the night before or some shit. You know, I do know guys that have gotten sick, actually sick, while they were already dehydrating and pulling water.
Yeah.
And in that case, they had to say, fuck the show. I need to be, like, they still did the show, but it became like, I need to, you know, be well. You know, so I'm already dehydrated. Now I'm puking and shitting, you know.
Yeah.
No. Fuck, you know, in that case. And again, sometimes it shakes out with a little luck because they're just trying to keep up, you know. So, you know, if nothing else, it's a good dose of whatever it takes, so to speak.
It's a good
reason. Good ones, Ron? You haven't locked any down.
I think it's a good reason too, by the way, guys, to have more than one show set up for the season. Now I know, like, if you're shooting for nationals is national, so there's that. But if you're doing a state level show, I'm a big fan of having like a window of shows where maybe you know, if you already paid, then obviously still do it, but you're already in shape. So if you have a show that happens in 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, it sucks. I used to put all my eggs in one basket, and then no matter how it unfolded, that was the show I did. It's nice. It would be cool if he could do another show in 3 more weeks or something after he's feeling better as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Okay. I got one. Here's a cheery one. Are we going to do a cheery one? Favorite Christmas food? You go, Dusty. What's your favorite Christmas foods? It's last 5 minute crew, so
God, I'm trying to think.
Because I get a kick out of, by the way. People are coming up to me and they're saying, "Hey, I'm last 5 minute crew," which I really get a thrill out of, by the way.
Fucking love that. So here's the thing that's strange. I don't do traditional holiday food because I don't enjoy it. So I don't like turkey and shit like that. I usually eat fillets for holidays. But for something traditional that I actually will like eat a shit ton of is like deviled eggs for some reason. Like if that's something I would never make.
Yeah.
But if there are 30 of them there, that I will eat all of them.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be, I guess, my only thing. Because yeah, for the most part, and then of course those little rolls that everyone has, I'll kill those things, whatever they're called.
Right.
Yeah.
With one pack of butter per roll.
Yeah.
Like so what I do with the roll is I stick my thumbs in it, and then you just slide the packet of butter in the hole, and then you just mush it. Yeah.
That's good.
There you go.
And if you're in your off season, that could be where your peanut butter cup goes. Anyways, keep going. What about you guys?
Scott, go.
Nothing exciting. I would say I'm thinking, so we have American Thanksgiving coming up. So that's kind of like leading into I'll say for Christmas and Thanksgiving, stuffing, and I like green bean casserole. They put the crunchy onion things on top. It's something I would never make, stuffing either, but it's just delicious. And I'll take it a step further and say I like that stuff along with like some turkey on a great big plate that my mom wraps up for me and sends home, and it's like enough for like 2 or 3 meals the next day. That's the jam right there. The leftovers.
Right. Okay.
Your mom is like the team mom. Like
she's
she
awesome.
Pulls that shit off, huh?
Yeah,
There's been a few references where I've really realized that Scott's mom is the shit. And how about you, Mr. Canada? What do they do up there?
So I always loved Christmas dinner. Plus, my mom was an awesome cook. And also, like, there were several awesome cooks in our family. So if, we went to someone else's house for Christmas dinner this year, and then maybe it was my mom's turn this year, and so wherever we would wind up, there would always be like a crazy spread. I love mashed potatoes and gravy. That's like a whole plate. I need 2 plates, one for mashed potatoes and gravy and one for turkey and gravy. and then a third plate just for fucking rolls
for the
and
mashed potato
stuffing. Gravy. Yeah, and then stuffing in. Yeah, that meal is like fucking. That meal is the best meal of the year. So I'm a huge Christmas dinner guy. Huge. That's like, I fucking love that meal. The way the house smells. It's just, it's just everything. It's the best. It's the best.
He's got Die Hard playing in the background. He's getting the rolls.
Yeah,
in.
Die Hard playing in the background. The opening credits are rolling. I also must say that there is nothing that's quite as disappointing as the odd time where you think you're going for Christmas dinner somewhere and it's a ham. And I know some people love ham. They love ham. They're like, oh man, a nice roasted ham, and we're gonna have some of this casserole and some of this and some of this, and it's just all disappointment for me.
Not a ham
because fan. No, and it's not the ham's fault, Scott. That's the thing. The ham is
I'm not picking on the ham.
It's not the ham. It's all the sides.
Oh.
You get it's the sides. Without turkey, you get no mashed potatoes. You get no gravy. You don't get cranberry sauce. You don't get stuffing. It fucks a whole meal up.
Huh.
Then you get casserole.
I understand
and
the stuffing,
veggie dish
why
that
you
your
not
sister
have mashed
made.
Potatoes?
Yeah, and I don't want any of that veggie dish. And then some cheese thing that someone made that I'm not eating. And then another thing of veggies. I'm like, why would I eat these? I
feel like
normal. Like, why would I?
Ron's talking about a specific meal. I think he was scarred.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
one point,
we're uncovering childhood trauma. There's a traumatizing moment. And it's always he
makes
also
it
weird
sound
too.
like you cannot have mashed potatoes and gravy if there's a ham. Like he made it sound like
I know
somehow the turkey made the mashed potatoes or something.
Well, it kind of did. It kind of did because they used the turkey pot to make the gravy. Like it's turkey gravy. No one makes ham gravy. These are. Yeah, they use the turkey pot, right? It's real gravy because that's how my mom would do it. She made real fucking turkey gravy. There's no package.
And the stuffing has to be in the bird, right?
That's and the stuffing comes out of the bird. This all comes out of the turkey. The turkey births the entire dinner.
Do you ever feel like you realized when Ron went into therapy was right after this fucking meal? Fucking Dan's house with a shitty ass ham. Ruined his life.
I ate the fucking 10 ounces of ham and a bun. I'm just like, when's the pie come out?
So could you imagine
how
pumpkin
pie and you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
Ron would have been so mortified because when Tommy first moved to Scottsdale, it was around the holidays, and I was like, hey, you want to do Christmas dinner? And he's like, sure, I don't know anybody. I was like, cool. All right, there's a Chinese shithole down the street. I'll see you there at 7. That was our dinner. I'm like, all right, I'll see you there.
I like that.
And that was our beautiful spread for that year. As Tommy and I hit up a Chinese place, and they were packed by the way. There were a lot of losers just like us. They had nowhere to go. So
no. It's good. I know. See, I'm happy you guys aren't as scarred by this. Any of this?
No,
see, like you're not.
No.
See, sometimes I think that everyone should just like instantly agree with that, but I know it's kind of a me thing.
Well, yeah, because I felt I actually was crazy, Scott. Is when I said, "Oh, I don't usually eat turkey on Thanksgiving." I literally watched my followers drop one, and I looked, and Ron had unfollowed me. I was like, "Seems like a bit of a soft point I've hit here, attacking his turkey."
Yes.
Do you got another one?
There is some scarring there. There is some scarring. If you could be any. Okay, well, it's kind of a two-part because it says superhero or supervillain. So I don't know if you want to do them separately, but if you could be any superhero or supervillain for one day, who would it be?
I feel like this is a Ron question. You know all the superheroes.
I don't know.
Don't
I'm
you?
not as much of a superhero guy. I'm not that deep in the Marvel universe.
So here's the thing on that real quick. I don't really get the tie-in with every fucking adult man and superheroes, just for the record. like the Derek Farnsworths of the world that have like all these toys and shit that they collect for $10 million. I'm like, oh, you should try Bitcoin. Anyways, just my thought.
They love their stuff. I got lots of friends that are Marvel.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Or DC nuts. Like they fucking love it. They know everything. I'm so lost. I only saw like 5 of the movies.
I'll see them out of order because I don't give a fuck. I'm like, oh, like you're flying to Germany and you're like, oh, fuck it. I've already watched 7 movies. I'll watch this one, I guess. I got no idea what's going on. Then you talk to like, back in the day, I would talk to like Luke or somebody and he's like, well, that was shit because the story doesn't go like that. I'm very offended.
Right.
That they went off fucking kilter. So
yeah.
Anyways, I've derailed the question, but I have to point that out so that when my answer sucks, everyone knows it's because I don't fucking know. I mean, God.
My answers will be easy.
Go. Do yours.
I can answer this.
Thank you.
Batman, because he's super fucking rich.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Makes sense.
I'm going to be somebody for a day. I want to be Batman because he's super fucking rich.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just be Bruce Wayne for a day, basically.
That'd be cool.
And
you might not even need to put the suit on.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even need to do anything. I don't need to fight anybody. I'm just going to spend his money, fly around in a chopper.
Nice.
And then villain is Lex Luthor for exactly the same reason.
The other side of the rich coin. That's fantastic. I like that.
Superhero or super villain. I don't want to be involved in any of the politics of what they want to do with the world. I just want to be rich for one day. It's one day. You're not going to fuck up their plan, or you don't have to kill anybody.
We're back.
Okay, here's one for you.
Good.
What sport would be the funniest to add mandatory alcohol to?
The funniest. Well, I always added mandatory. Oh my God. Yeah. I always added mandatory alcohol to bowling. But it's just because I got better when there were 20 pins versus 10.
I thought it was mandatory.
I thought, what about golf?
Yeah. Weren't chicken fingers and beer like part of the rules? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see. You know what would be like? I'm trying to think. Like gymnastics would be pretty awesome. Lit.
Oh man, mandatory. Like you have to have like minimum 3 shots or something like that, or it's blood alcohol. Like you have to have a point. Like not like 0.08 is like drunk driving, right? Most places 0.08, 0.05 in some places. So you make them have
come with like a 1.2.
Oh, okay, you're going high. I was just going like just for like a bit of an effect, like 0.04, like they're halfway to illegal, but they are trying to do gymnastics. I imagine that would still make for a some pretty interesting times.
Oh God.
I pictured it more like there was a girl, like a shot girl sitting there, and like right before they went out and like did the tumbling, you just like threw 3 shots back and then boom, and then hit it.
You know when they
still just in her gut,
back and
like she still just got like a firebomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
That'd be classic. You remember, you know how like they do that at clubs where they shoot it down your throat and then like shake your head and shit or spin you around and fire you off? That'd be great.
Yeah, there you go.
Now jump up on those rings.
Yeah.
Man. Or like a figure skater. She slams 2 shots right before she goes out. And they only weigh like 105 pounds, right?
Oh yeah.
So she's like 2 shots of Jack and then out. And she's probably like 2 minutes into her 3-minute run when she starts to like
right around the time for the double sow cow. It's that fucker hits.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, that's classic.
Okay. Am I going again?
Yes.
Unless Scott has one. Do you have like one of those handy YouTube ones that you bring up?
Actually, the only thing I have today is a bill for $80 for a guy to come out and look at my furnace. That's what I was working on today before the show.
Here's a good one. Open bodybuilder who would be the most dangerous with an additional 10 pounds of pure muscle.
Huh.
I don't know. Anyone in the top 6 of the Olympia.
Right. Yeah, put 10 pounds on anybody. They look great.
Any of those. Take any of those guys and put 10 pounds on them. It would be a big deal.
No, you know who my vote is though?
Huh.
Nathan.
Sean Clarita?
Think what Nathan would look like with 10 more pounds. Because Nathan putting on 10 pounds like me putting on 30. Because his frame is so nuts. Like I think Nathan, yes, Sean obviously is one. Yeah, I'm immediately jumping at just the I hate to say it, but I still consider Nathan a shape guy, even though he's huge.
Right.
You know.
See, I'm sort of thinking like, I know there's a lot. I mean, obviously, if you give, if you give Hottie 10 pounds of pure muscle,
true.
That's like, oh shit.
Oh, fuck it, Flex Lewis. There we go. We got an Olympic.
Flex Lewis. There you go. There you go. Also, I just two names that popped into my head when I first read the question, because I'm sort of thinking of it. Like obviously if you give 10 pounds to a top guy, it's like you have an even more top guy. But I'm sort of thinking of guys that are maybe like in the back of the top 10 Olympia, maybe not the top group. And 10 pounds would be the biggest jump for them. And those two guys that I think of, like you mentioned, Nathan, that would be a big jump for him. Because he's in the top 10, technically in our heads, he's like a top 10 Olympia guy, right? But then there's also, I think, Rafael.
Oh yeah,
and Regan. I think Rafael and Regan are two guys. Like if Milos puts 10 pounds of just pure striated tissue on Regan, it will be really, really noticeable because of the shape, right?
Yeah.
So you had a good answer though. Nathan's a good pick.
The answer always goes back to those guys, though. It's those shape guys that it's not that they're not big, but what 10 pounds would do on them versus. Like, for example, if you put 10 pounds on Rami, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally.
That's a good way to put it.
You wouldn't see it. You got time? You got one more on there?
Me?
Yes.
Is it that time? Are we at the one more time?
We are at the one more time. It's 2 hours, sir.
God damn.
I have responsibilities ready to spend my money.
I had a lot of drug questions. kind of because of what happened with, Rodin and the deaths and stuff. And I don't know. I don't want to avoid them.
We always avoid them.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think sometimes your guys' perspectives are good on that stuff too. Because I'll say as a fan and as a younger bodybuilder, when I was competing really hard, I remember listening to an episode of, I think it was on one of the Project Bodybuilding shows, and John Meadows had said he never had touched IGF-1. And I remember at the time thinking about it, that guys like Dusty, guys like John they had a secret on how to run that IGF in a certain way, that this is what all the top guys are doing. And I do think that every time we have a drug question, it ends up being a boring one because they're like, I never used that. Or I think 500 milligrams, or you know what I mean? It's not, I do think that sometimes the drug questions are good because it's not that you guys have some sort of scientific answer on how to work these two esters together and when to switch to the fast compound and up the dose on this. Mm-hmm. It's like, it puts it into the perspective of what the reality is, that it's not as big of a part, and the guys who are really good are going to be really good regardless of taking a bunch of shit,
Yeah. I had one here. I get a lot of questions about AIs, and it says, how often is an AI? Yeah. And the answer with how much AI do you need, like how much Arimidex or whatever, is hopefully none. You want to get your blood work done and see what your estrogen level actually is. Like I've seen guys on 500 milligrams of test a week and their estrogen level is normal. It's not even elevated.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I've seen that on blood work. And
I mean, I have too, but rare.
Yeah, it's like high end of normal, but it's still in range.
Yeah.
So they don't need to smash their estrogen to zero. Now they're just fucking their body up.
Yeah.
They maybe, if they want to just drop it, they maybe can take a tiny bit of Adex or something, or Arimidin or Aromacin or whatever they want to use. But people I think they need way more than they do, you know? And then also too, I've seen a couple guys where they're on like, you know, TRT, like legit TRT, and their estrogen levels are always high. So they have like doctor prescribed Arimidex, you know, 3 tabs a week, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you just don't know. You have to get your blood work done. You know, you have to figure that out.
I think that's the answer to everything though with bodybuilding. And I don't understand why it's such a scary thing. Like, you have the ability to have an open book test, but you choose to try to know the answers on your own. I don't get that. You know, like, because for example, if you're truly somebody who is obsessive about what drugs do and how they work, then you should understand they don't work the same for everyone.
Yeah.
So the only way to really know what you're doing is to take your blood, your clean or your TRT or your whatever. Then you're in the middle of your cycle at the peak. Take it again. What's it say there? Okay, now at the end, take it there. And keep in mind variables, you know, that are changing. Because it is very odd to me that people do want this really in-depth answer, but then they won't even look at their own body. Because like you said, Ron, to give you an idea, like I can take 750 tests and 0 AIs. None. I don't even have them in my house. Like it's not a necessity for me. My body doesn't come up, you know, and it's the same. Like I hate to point it out, but I really have learned now genetically my frame is terrible for bodybuilding. But in every other aspect of putting on size, being strong, injuries, health, you know, I said in my blood work to Dante, and he's like, "Oh, how long have you been off?" I'm like, "I'm dead nuts right now." And he's like, "Oh,
huh?
Okay,
yeah, you have very good tolerance."
Yeah, the body's just fine with it. So you definitely have to factor that in, because I think that that's why people get confused and why they don't like the answers that pros give. Because I get it. If I was gassed out of my mind and I'm training my ass off and my food is perfect and all these things, it's insulting to believe that you can do this on less, or, you know, with less sides or whatever it may be, and just get a drastically better result. You know, it's not the easiest pill to swallow, and it would be much nicer to just be able to say, well, I could do that too if I want to take 2 grams a test. And it's not to say that nobody does, but I do think that that's why the questions come up so much, because I've been called a liar for forever. I mean, you know, on all sorts of different things. You know, oh, there's this or that. You know, my triceps are one of the big ones, and I point out to people like, well, I can tell you why the one tricep's fucked, and I have the whole story that everyone's heard 100 times. Put some Winstrol in there. That fucker has a point on it to this day from 2012.
Yeah, it's still same size as the other one, though. It's funny.
Yeah,
if you measure
it's just
it.
scar
It's still
tissue.
same size.
You know.
Yeah.
And even after losing all my muscle, because that scar tissue didn't go away, when I put the size back on, I'm like, there's my point. It's still there.
It looks the same. Yeah.
You know, thank God I'm not a really good bodybuilder. That would hurt me.
I also want to remind everybody that they forget that all drugs have side effects, right? So they think, okay, you know, I'm going to run, you know, a bit of test and a bit of this and a bit of that. And then they throw the anti-estrogens in like liberally, like just throw them in. Like I'm going to take 4 Arimidex a week, make sure I don't get gyno. And I'm like, okay, well now you're smashing your estrogen down below normal range. So now your cholesterol is going to be terrible, and you're not going to get your blood work done. So you're not going to know this. So in 4 or 5 months time, when you do get your blood work done, you're going to be like, well, my cholesterol is bad. And my doctor says that my HDL is too low, and I got to try to correct this now. And that is something that's directly linked to heart disease and heart attacks, is having your cholesterol fucked up. You do not want that. That is something you don't want. So that's directly from overuse of anti-estrogens in a lot of cases, is guys doing that. So don't do that. Try to use a minimal amount possible. You don't want to push your estrogen to 0, because that's when things go wrong. You know, it's people forget this stuff. Also, natural growth hormone levels are definitely affected by AIs. Like Meadows used to talk about that all the time. If you're on GH, it's a different story. But if you're not taking GH, AIs will definitely, obviously dose related, but they will definitely suppress your IGF-1 levels and all that stuff. So, you know, I just saw something the other day all about that. I think it might have even been John Jewett talking about that. So he's got some good stuff up there. But yeah, so, you know,
I think what's funny is and I think I know I was guilty of this when I was first getting in, is everyone looks at the positives and they want to know what it does good.
Yeah.
But they don't look at the negatives. You know, it's something Jose used to tell me, you know, because Jose helps a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of men, women, and women will say, well, I use Anabar because it doesn't have any sides. And he's like, anything that can have a positive effect has the possibility of a negative effect. Get that out of your fucking head. Sure, it's lighter than if you take Tren. But this idea that like, oh, well, it's Anabar, so it'll do nothing. It's like, well, then just don't take it if it'll do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to do a positive, there is another side of the coin. And I know that that's true because I didn't know that, Ron, when I first got into bodybuilding. And number one, I didn't even know to need AIs. But then when I needed them, I never worried about what the flip of blocking estradiol was.
Right.
Didn't I mean, and, you know, back then, no one was telling you. And I was never interested in drugs. So I was like, okay, take one of these a day. I got it.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then of course and I remember the first time I did have some cholesterol issues, I looked at my diet. My diet, everything should be fine. I don't understand. You know, so it's like if you don't know what everything you're putting in your system does in every direction, then how do you fix it?
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Okay. Is that it? I guess we got to go. I got shit I got to do. I just realized what time it was. Okay.
It's Monday. Everybody takes Mondays off. You're fine.
Yeah. the new economy.
Yeah.
Start at 10, done at 3.
Okay. No shit.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I'm glad Scott was able to join us.
I'm glad to be here. Me too.
Save us.
Yeah, save us. The first half hour is off the rails. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
There you go. He like delays that on purpose.
He really does.
Always.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Keep the questions coming, and we look forward to having you on again. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.